What's going on, Can Do You fam? Kevin here, and I just want to take a second to wish you happy Red Ribbon Week. So maybe you've heard of Red Ribbon Week, and maybe you celebrated Red Ribbon Week. Or maybe you're like I was in high school, like you never heard of Red Ribbon Week at all, and you were like, what's all this about? Okay, so real quick, let me give you some background. Red Ribbon Week is a week that's celebrated all over the world, and it's kind of like a pledge and a push to be or become drug-free. Since the mid-1980s, schools and students in tens of thousands of schools decorate their schools. They have different spirit weeks, and their counselors put them on all kinds of different events to help students learn more about drug prevention and how they can be an active part. So I promise I'm not going to take much of your time, but I wanted to tell you the backstory of Red Ribbon Week that you may or may not have known. It's kind of interesting. So it was this guy. His name was Enrique Camarena. He grew up to be an agent for the DEA, so his job was to go undercover and bring down drug smuggling organizations. In 1985, Camarena was kidnapped and killed by drug traffickers. When I was reading up on the story, there was this one part that bummed me out the most. When he was getting ready to work for the government as an undercover narcotics officer, his mom begged him not to, telling him that it was too dangerous. "I'm only one person," Camarena told his mother, "but one person can make a difference." So a couple of things here. He was right. One person can make a difference. So this week, wherever you are, whoever you are, my challenge is to make a difference. If you or someone you know is in any kind of trouble because of drugs, do what you can to help. Some people might call that snitching. I call that making a difference. The second thing I want to say is this. We're not blind to the fact that some high schoolers might be doing drugs. I'm not going to get too far into that, but I wanted to say this because you might not know this. We talk about this in one of our other videos too. But even if you're not addicted to a drug, you might be on your way there without even knowing it. See, even if you just use drugs sometimes, that makes changes to your brain. And even if you have control over it now and you're like, I only do it on the weekends, or I only do it sometimes, or I'm not an addict. Well, if you do drugs for long enough, your brain will start calling for that substance. So while you might have control of it now, eventually you won't. It's just brain science. Like, even if you're the strongest person, or if you see yourself just dabbling or experimenting, your brain doesn't know that. And you have no control over when your brain makes that switch from drug use to drug addiction. So my challenge to you is this: stop now. So here's something we want you to do. I'm going to throw a quote up here shortly, and I want you to remain completely silent for 60 seconds. I want you to read it, reread it, and read it again. Think about it. Think about what it means and what it means to you. Then I want you to jot down on a piece of paper or like in a Google Doc or something how you'd explain what this quote means to a friend. Like if a friend was like, what does that mean? What would you say? How would you explain it? Alright, again, complete silence for 60 seconds while you reflect. Your classroom should be completely silent, then jot down what it means.